Hello, you join us live on Facebook for Sky News. We are shadowing today the South Central Ambulance Service to get an idea of their daily routine and how much pressure the NHS is under. If you've got any questions for me, please do post them in the comments box below. We are going out on an emergency call at the moment. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by paramedic Kelly Brunton. Kelly, just tell us where we're going now and what this response is.
So we're going to an emergency call in Marlow at the moment. We've been told that there's one of our rapid response vehicles already there. So they've made an initial assessment and they need backup from us to take the patient to hospital. We think it's some kind of breathing problems.
Okay, and how do you prioritise which calls get immediate attention?
So in our control room they have a system called Pathways, so the patient answers questions and it triages them over the phone. So someone with breathing problems, chest pain, any kind of stroke symptoms will be triaged as top priority. Any other things will go through a longer triage system and we'll work out what kind of response they need.
Right, we can hear the sirens going off at the moment, moving pretty quickly here. Just talk me through, how much pressure are you guys under on a day-to-day basis?
Quite a lot of pressure. We're very busy on a day-to-day basis. We go to lots of different calls and quite often we'll be on our way to a call and we'll get stood down and sent to another one which has gone through the triage system and has come through as a higher priority. Right,
okay. Now, like I say, we've been shadowing these guys ever since 6 o'clock this morning. It's been a very busy day, back-to-back calls from patients. I have to say it's been a mixed bag. I'd say half the people we've seen didn't really need to call an ambulance. The other half probably should have called them sooner. And we've seen people with breathing problems, we've seen people with stomach pains, hip problems. I mean, Kelly can talk us through a bit more of that. What have been the main issues today?
So the main issue that we went to today, the lady was the poorliest. She'd had what we think to be a chest infection and that had escalated and turned into pneumonia, which is as bad as a chest infection can get, and she was in quite bad respiratory distress when we got there. We helped her out, but when she got to hospital it was still quite touch and go. She was very unwell, but hospital have treated her and she's now doing a lot better. She was so unwell she couldn't even remember us getting there this morning, but now she's sat up in her hospital bed with her family doing a lot better.
And that's one of the nice things, isn't it, getting to see that the patients, I mean, I was so pleased when I heard that she was okay and she's doing well, because you get to meet the family of the patients. And is that something you do regularly, check up on them?
Yeah, especially if someone's been really poorly like that, we do like to go in and double check that they're now okay and they're doing a lot better. And we've got a nice relationship with the nurses in A&E and they keep in contact with us to let us know how things have gone.
Right, now if I can just get my cameraman to pan round, and you can see our view out the window at the moment. We've got Felicity on the front here driving us. Kelly, let me keep talking to you because I've got some questions coming in. Neil Bradley has said, what was health and social care like before 2010 and how does it compare to the present situation? I mean, you've been in the job a while.
Yeah, I suppose the demand has increased a lot. There's been lots of cuts within the NHS. And we've seen lots of services such as A&Es closing and hospitals sort of downgrading their ability to take patients, and that increases the demand on other A&E departments quite heavily. So the budget cuts have made a big increase in the amount of admissions into certain A&E departments, definitely, yeah.
And how did you get involved in it all in the first place?
Going to university.
Well, you did a degree in it?
Yeah, I went to university. I did some research through the ambulance service and thought that I could potentially go into the control room first and work my way up, but it turned out that the best way to get into this was to go to university, and then you get straight in and get on the job learning, and it's a really good route into doing it, and I'd highly recommend it.
And I should say, we have heard today that some of the hospitals in this area are under extreme pressure because the A&E departments are very busy. One in particular, I think, is bad. They've got a serious incident, haven't they?
Yeah, we've heard that Frimley Park's quite busy today. If we know a hospital's busy, we'll get a message through saying this hospital's very busy, try and use alternative care pathways, which is our services that we can call, so sort of mental health teams, out of hours doctors and carers that can come in and look after elderly patients if they don't necessarily need medical treatment but more social care.
Sure. Chris is asking, are the drivers good at letting the ambulance get to where it needs to be? Now I have to say I am hugely impressed and in awe of these guys. Felicity up front says she doesn't mind having a chat to us whilst driving, but I think we should probably let her focus on the road. She has got us from A to B several times today and is doing a remarkable job. And it's very interesting sitting on this side of things, because of course when you're in a car and you've got to get out the way, often it's quite difficult to know where to move. What's your advice on that?
Yeah, our advice is always move to the left if it's safe to do so, and never make us squeeze into tiny little gaps. You know, if you give us as much room as possible, it's fine. But we understand that drivers panic and don't know what to do, but it is a lot more helpful when people just move to the left and calmly stop and let us pass, because it can be quite tricky, as you've seen.
We had one person tell us to move, didn't they?
Yeah, he got angry at us for trying to get past him. So yeah, it's quite interesting seeing how people react to us coming past them.
Do you get a lot of that? People get angry with you?
Yeah, getting angry with us because they're not 100% sure on what to do and they think what's right, and then we go and do another move which they didn't want us to do, and they get annoyed at the fact that we haven't followed their instruction on how to get around them.
So when the emergency comes in, just talk us through the process for you, how you get told where you're going.
Yeah, so we've got handheld radios, and the job comes through on there with an address and sort of a vague description about what's going on. And then once we're inside the ambulance, we've got a screen which will tell us some information about the patient, and the screen will automatically take us on the sat nav to where the patient is. All in that time, it's a touch screen. We're pressing buttons and control know where we are, and they can get in contact with us through that as well.
And would you say that a lot of the people that you go out and care for perhaps don't need to necessarily call an ambulance?
Yeah, there is that aspect of our job at the moment. There's a lot of people who call maybe because they're not sure what else to do, or they think that the GP's not appropriate, but the GP can probably do a lot more than the patient thinks they can. But yeah, there's a lot of calls that come through that we don't necessarily need to go to. But it's very difficult to tell over the phone on what a person's saying if we do need to attend or not. They can say the right things, and we'll have to attend just to make sure that everything's fine. And we'd certainly rather get there and make sure that everything's fine than someone leave it too long and not want to call us and things get out of hand.
I've got another question here. Raja Wak is saying, how bad is A&E at the moment, and does it affect paramedics doing their job?
So Wexham Park A&E at the moment isn't too bad. It's obviously busy, as it always is, but the patients are being offloaded in quite a timely manner at the moment. Sometimes we can be queuing in A&E departments for sort of 1-2 hours at a time, waiting to get patients off of our hospital, off of our trolley. We can't leave them until they're in safe care of a nurse or a doctor, so it does take up our time when we have to stand and wait in corridors for patients to be offloaded. And it's not often A&E's fault. They're trying to move patients out of A&E. There's just not space in the rest of the hospital for them to do that.
And would you say the ageing population has a lot to do with, the so-called bed blocking? Horrible term.
Yeah, it's not a very nice term, is it? But that is the case when there's elderly people in hospital beds who need the social care at home, and they can't find the provisions to be able to provide that, so they do wait in hospital beds when they should be in some kind of social care, and that's why people can't move out of A&E. I don't really know what the solution would be for that, because there's just so much that needs to be done for these elderly people.
Well, I've got a lot of questions coming in. Thanks very much. Please do keep them coming. It's great to have them, and it's great to have Kelly here who can shed light on some of these as well. Anne Radcliffe is saying, are so-called health tourists a problem?
Health tourists?
So people who, not necessarily are from this country, but...
Not necessarily. They're maybe on the education side of things. So people who come from other countries and their health system is very different to ours, and they don't understand the way we do things here. Sometimes that does cause a bit of an issue with getting the right care for them. But there's always going to be that culture difference, and there's quite a variety of cultures in this area. So we do see that quite a lot. But we try and point them in the right direction and educate them as to how they can use the health service to benefit them.
Now, I have to say, lots of people on Facebook seem quite interested in the driving, and we are kind of swerving through a lot of different cars at the moment. It's something that's interested me as well, because watching these guys navigate through the cars is absolutely incredible. And I have to say, how much training do you get for this? And you drive as well. Is it difficult?
Yeah, we go through 4 weeks of driving school, and they teach us how to drive smoothly and comfortably for the patients, and then also how to read how traffic is going to move, and to drive safely at speed. We do 3 weeks of training, and then the last week we put on the emergency lights and practice driving on emergency speed, and then they let us come out and do it for real.
And how many emergencies would you say you attend to each day?
It depends really. We've been to 4 and we've got a couple of hours left, so we could potentially see 6, but you could go to anything up to sort of 10, 12 patients a day depending on what you're dealing with. If it's something that can be left at home and you can deal with it quite quickly, you can be on to the next patient within 45 minutes, and that way you'd see lots of patients in one day. But it's probably averaging between sort of 6 and 10 for most people in a day. Yeah.
You were telling me earlier about some of the main incidents that you've done and the fact that you've helped people give birth.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things as well. Yeah, we do get to deliver babies occasionally. It's a lot of job that not many people like going to it, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. We don't have a massive deal of maternity training, but when it all goes right, it is lovely to deliver a baby. Yeah.
Is that one of your favourites?
One of my favourites, definitely.
And at lunchtime we were having a chat with some of your colleagues, and they were talking us through some of the incidents they've been to, some horrific ones, as you would imagine, you know, RTCs, car crashes, some very sad incidents like cot deaths. It must be a job that is so up and down and very emotional.
Yeah, it is, but we get lots of support from our management. If we go to something that they think could have a potential effect on our mental health, we'll get referrals to a team that can give us counselling and talk to us about what we need. But quite a lot of the time, just being in the crew room with your colleagues and talking to them about what you've done in your day is good therapy, and just talking to your crewmate about what you've done. But yeah, sometimes you can take it home with you and get a bit emotional.
Well, I've got a guy here, Steve Bauer, I think is his name. You saved my son and daughter, legends, he says. A lovely comment there. Like I say, keep them coming in. We've got loads. Sorry, I've got a backlog here. Heather's asking, do you expect to see any of the £350 million a week promised by Brexit campaigners?
Who knows? It is. Well, personally, our hospital is undergoing lots of transformations at the moment. How much of the money is coming from Brexit, we'll never know. But they are ploughing lots of money into our hospital to try and make it a much more efficient hospital. And we've already seen the changes in A&E. Wexham Park A&E has changed dramatically and is a lot more efficient now. And patients have seen a big change in it. It was a hospital that not many people really wanted to go to quite a few years ago, but now we've had lots of good reviews about the A&E department. So there is money being spent in the right places somewhere. There is changes happening.
Yeah, it's great to be there, because we've been based at Wexham Park Hospital in Slough today. That's where their ambulance base is, but they've got bases across their patch, and they serve people not just here in Berkshire, but also Buckinghamshire, Hampshire and parts of Oxfordshire. So it is a huge area to get around, and of course there are a number of ambulances out every day. I think the thing that I like the most is that, you know, we met this lady who was in a horrific state earlier on this morning. She was finding it very difficult to breathe, and then just catching up with her later on this afternoon. We didn't actually see her, but went in and got an update from the nurses in A&E, and she is okay. So, you know, it's very satisfying. It must be an incredibly rewarding job.
Yeah, it is really rewarding. It's really nice to see that you've made a difference and you've actually helped some people out, and every now and then you do get to save a life, which is nice. Yeah.
Vicky Ferguson is saying, how often do ambulance staff get either threatened or assaulted by the public?
Personally, I haven't experienced much of that, but I certainly know colleagues that have. Luckily, it doesn't happen all that often, but we do see it, unfortunately. Yeah, we've had incidents where we've sort of just verbal abuse, which we can take on the chin and deal with, but actual violence, luckily, doesn't come all that often. If you look about all the jobs we go to, it is a very small percentage of it, but it does happen.
Sure. I should just say to the people watching, if you have just joined us, we are shadowing for the day the Southern Central Ambulance Service. This is all to get a glimpse of their daily routine. Of course, we've heard that there is a lot of pressure at the moment on the NHS. Indeed, a number of people, around 75 experts in the healthcare system, have written an open letter to the Prime Minister today calling for action in social care, which is causing problems for the NHS because of this so-called bed blocking. They've said in this letter that every day there is yet more problems, from extra waiting times to hospitals not reaching their targets. So it's really great to just get a glimpse of what they do here, and I have to say I'm in complete awe of you guys, because it's not easy, is it? It's a tough job.
Yeah, it can be. There are some days where we do go to jobs that turn out to be quite a bit easier, but yeah, there are some days where it's tough, and it's tiring doing it all day. You get home and think you're really shattered, but the day goes quickly because we're busy all the time.
It does go very quickly. Sissy Walker saying, do you find staff shortages can cause a backlog in A&E and also other areas in hospitals?
Yeah, sometimes that can be the case, but luckily we haven't experienced too much of a shortage in the ambulance service ourselves. We've always had enough to cover shifts and get by. But yeah, sometimes you do notice in A&E if there are a few nurses down, it does take a while to get patients through the system.
I'll stop you there because I think we've arrived at our location, so I'll let these guys get on with what they do, and we'll have a quick chat to you and maybe see what they're doing. I'll just unbelt myself. So yeah, just talk us through. I mean, this is an emergency, so I guess the
we're
first
backing
things
up
first.
one of our colleagues who's here already.
Right.
They've called for us to back them up.
Sure.
And, we'll go in and see what we need to do.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
We'll lead after you. So we won't go inside because in order to film the people, we have to get their permission before doing so. But you can just get an idea of what these guys do when they are called out to this sort of response. The first thing is they just go in and get an update on the patient, see how they're doing, and then if they need to be taken to hospital, they will do that. That happened with a lady earlier. Sometimes they give the medication here at the scene, and that is how it is done. But we better go in now to see what's going on here and whether we can film. There will be more at 5 o'clock on Sky News on television. Thank you ever so much for watching, and thank you very much for all your comments. Like I say, tune in online, on Facebook and on television, where we will have more.